Welcome to Life Fit with DVD. That is me. I'm back again, and I wanted to share something today about lifestyles versus goals and a realization that I had around my own experimentation with trying to manifest habits that will build up my lifestyle versus setting goals and going out and trying to achieve them. And that is this. Either one can work for you, but you need to know yourself first to figure out what is going to work best. And I wanted to share this because with my big realization earlier today, it was that lifestyle changes and trying to cultivate habits and certain attitudes that are going to build to a more productive lifestyle, for me, is a much more sustainable way to go about my life in cultivating the things that I want versus goals. And the reason that is because when I set goals for things, I usually set a pretty high standard, or I try to. It might not always be, the best standard or, you know, uh, the best thing out there in the world or whatever, but it's going to be something that I am going to want to do a really good job on. And because I will want to do a good job on it, and it's going to have that intrinsic motivation that I always talk about, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do it a certain way. And with that pressure comes a lot of expectations. And with those expectations, especially when they're not met, can lead to this cycle of emotions around why didn't I get it done? What can I do better? And kind of beating yourself up over something that really was just a goal that you had set internally. Maybe it's something that you did tell other people about, you told a whole community about, and maybe that works for some people. I know that some people love telling people their goals, of what they're going to accomplish. That way, they are being held to that standard, and they have somebody that is keeping them accountable. And that's excellent that that works for some people. However, I think it depends where the motivation is coming from. Where, why are you doing what you are doing, right? I mean, are you doing it to tell other people that you're doing this thing? Or are you doing it because you want to do it, right? And having an accountability person is always, I think, a great thing. But as I've talked about before, it needs to be somebody that you can trust, because you do not want to be telling people or a whole community about what you're going to achieve if them telling you that what you're doing is not a good idea, or it's going to, be detrimental to this person or that person or yourself or whatever. You need to find people that you can trust, that you can tell these things. I mean, otherwise, I mean, if telling people your goals and expectations for what you want to accomplish and what you're going to do is motivational to you, and you are resistant to the criticism of that others might have towards whatever your big goals are, well, absolutely do it. But what I find is a lot of people aren't very resistant to that. And if you're telling other people your goals, what you're doing, um, if you don't meet them, not only can that lead to other people beating you up, for that, and yourself beating yourself up, but you're going to then feel worse about it. Um, and yeah, sure, maybe you can be resilient and get back on the horse and try to accomplish whatever that are going towards. But in general, when you start to externalize that stuff, or at least this is what I have found, you externalize it, there can be a lot of pushback, and then it just leads to more resistance within yourself if you do start questioning, well, why am I doing this, right? So what I have found is, as opposed to goals, as opposed to achievements and the motivation that comes with them, the drive to get something big done, is, well, you know, there can be a little bit of an emotional wave with that. So what works for me much better is setting more manageable and realistic goals that I don't even call goals, because I just call them lifestyle habits. And these lifestyle habits, maybe it's just the reframe of the expectation of a goal versus a habit. But when you start to reframe it into a manner that, well, yeah, I can walk, you know, 1,000 steps a day, 10,000 steps a day, or yeah, all I can do, I can go out and just throw down the yoga mat and do some stretches for 15 minutes. The smaller the goal, if you're finding it hard to motivate yourself to do something, the smaller the goal, the better for a more sustainable change in the long run. And it doesn't even matter if it's a small goal, or however small. I mean, maybe all you need to do is put on your gym shoes or whatever and go into a certain room where you say you want to work out or whatever. But if you don't find the motivation after that, well, at least you put on the gym shoes. At least you went to the place where you're supposed to do what you want to do, right? But ultimately, when you take that step of whether it's putting on those shoes or going to that room, or um, you know anything else related to getting ahead and working out, or I don't even mean it in working out, but going towards, whether you want to write somebody an email or whatever, go in there and start, just hit compose and just look at the blank screen. Because once you get there, you will start to find a motivation that you can get it done, because you've already taken one step. You've already started to build, even if it's the smallest level of motivation, that you have really taken a step towards getting the thing done that you wanted to get done, that you saw in your mind that you wanted to manifest. And it's a much different task from looking at a goal, where typically a lot of expectations come with that. And if you just break it down where it's like, oh, I can put on my shoes, all right, well, it's going to be easier because you don't have those expectations. And this will help develop more consistency in your own life towards the things that you want. Because ultimately, what a lot of people call it is compounding these positive habits. And I think it's about 30 days that it takes to build a new habit. On average, I think this varies upon everybody, um, because everybody's different ultimately. So once you start taking those steps, maybe just you want to build one new habit, you take 30 days and you focus on building that habit. And you don't add anything else to your routine that already exists there. But after those 30 days, you can then start to compound these habits with other good habits, right? Things that are going to build on one another to give you more energy, to make you feel better, that are going to help you strive towards where you want to be in your mind, in your mind's eye, what you see where you want to be in the future. And maybe you don't even have a clear picture on what that is, but you have an idea or a feeling for where you want to be going with your energy, where you want to be directing it towards, and what actually feels good with the energy. So this is just a comparison between goals, how I view goals versus habits, and how I like to think about them and what works. Because ultimately, when you start doing these things, it's going to give you a better sense of who you are as well and what works. And to this end, it's not just about cultivating a lifestyle and achieving things and all of that. Ultimately, this is about knowing yourself and what works for you. And I think that's one thing I'm probably going to start getting into in some of these videos is how can you know yourself better? Because this is something that I have done deep dives into trying to explore every single framework out there that can help you understand yourself. And I've gone through Myers-Briggs training, Enneagram training. I've learned a lot about human design. I think human design is probably the most comprehensive of them all to understand yourself. And when you start to look into this stuff, you can then begin to apply what you're learning about your specific traits, your unique personality and all of it, to develop these habits in a way that's going to be sustainable and manageable for you. So I want to share that comparison between goals and lifestyle habits with you today, and just share a little bit of my experience around that as well as trying to figure out what's going to work for you going forward. So if this helps, I'd love it if you like or subscribe. That'd mean a lot to me. If you need somebody to help hold you accountable, or help guide you along the way towards your own path and your own goals, I'd love to help. Leave me a comment. Otherwise, let me know what works for you. Is it goals or is it lifestyle habits? Let me know. But otherwise, until next time, see you later.